Hey there, you, me, and DC fans, and welcome if you're new. I am the Stepson of Krypton.
I'm Mantis.
And today we are doing the DCKO event wrap up. That is right. We are going to do a quick summary of all 42 issues in case you haven't missed it or you haven't gotten through all of our videos yet, because all 42 are down there in a playlist. Mantis, we have a lot to cover.
It's been a long time coming, this one, and it's been a lot of work, mainly for you. I've just made a couple videos. You've had to make them and edit them. So, guys, the amount of work that it's taken to do this whole KO event is ridiculous. That we end up paying to do. So,
We've been
yeah.
accused of being chills and making money and all this. We don't. We actually pay to bring this content out to you. We don't make anything off of this, and it cost us quite a bit to keep the channel up and running here, guys. So if you do want to see a full uncut discussion video of this wrap up, well, then I want better for you, because we don't have Patreon. There's Why would you want to see what we cut out? Because it's probably going to be a lot of ums and weird stuff. So moving past that, we aren't even going to do the intro this time because we do have a lot to get through here. Because as I said, it is a 42 issue event. Now, I do want everybody to take a moment and thank Mantis, because this was his idea.
Yeah, we may be. Yeah. Keep in mind, guys, again, with this many issues, we're not going to spend a lot of time on each issue unless there's major plot points and stuff. So if we skip your favorite issue of everything,
Let us know down
sorry.
in the comments, and we can give you a quick synopsis of it.
Yeah, we can link you our video on it. So we'll do.
Oh, trust me, I'm gonna have them popping up throughout the entire thing. You're gonna see all 42 of the little thumbnail things popping up there, so you will know where they're at. But there's also a playlist, so just check that out. So this starts back many, many, many months ago. I think we were into like October, something crazy, with Justice League Unlimited 11. Right now, when the event was first kind of like pitched to us, we're like, oh, it's gonna be 16 issues. Wrong. Wrong. So Justice League Unlimited 11, we see kind of the parademons. They were in that little kind of cocoon thing. They end up hatching in the watchtower. They break out of their little cell thing. Mr. Terrific had them in. And we also have Time Trapper, that he had been in the watchtower, and he's kind of aging. He's like, time's flowing through him, so he's aging very, very rapidly. Well, because this field's expanding, the metal and everything the watchtower is made up is also aging really, really rapidly, so it's starting to corrode. And they're trying to find a way what they can do to save him and heal him, so that this field will stop, kind of emanate and destroying the watchtower. And then we get our other team that we see up on Earth, and they're kind of discovering that these fire pits are starting to show up. And at the very, very end of it, we see Superman, and he's holding Booster Gold. He came out of what looks like Booster came out of a rift, which we would soon learn was from the Absolute Universe.
Yeah, and what's interesting is, if I remember right, didn't Metamorpho kind of like trying, and he was the one that was trying to like save Time Trapper? He was the only one that could get close enough because he wouldn't degrade with time as fast or something.
Yes, because what they did basically, and with his body and how he did it, was like carbon. So obviously, it's able to survive millions and millions and millions of years without degrading. They actually used. They had another doctor, and they basically put his mind, or telepathically put his mind into Metamorpho's body, so he could do that, but was smart enough and was very, very skilled with alien physiology to then try to heal him and fix him. Yes.
Gotcha. Yeah, and then so the next one on there, in the prequel line, because again, there's a couple of prequel, actually, even before Justice League Unlimited 11, you could argue that a lot of the parademon stuff started showing up even before Justice League Unlimited 11. Like, they were in there way before that. But we even go back further, where the Justice League, the Omega Act, and we're on Krypton and introduced to the secret behind Doomsday, right? What because we always when I first saw Doomsday as Time Trapper, I that storyline of him being Time Trapper was not a thing I was aware of. So we kind of get this behind the scenes look of Doomsday, where he came from, and the rest of the rest of the team meets Time Trapper there and gets introduced to.
Now, we maintain kind of what happened with Justice League Unlimited 11 not tied in, but with Aquaman 11 being the third one in the event, where it's, parademons are attacking civilians on a cruise ship. Aquaman, and he's got his new team, which includes his daughter, and they're fighting the minions. All meanwhile, Mara's kind of discovering the secrets within her home of Zebul, because obviously at this time Aquaman thinks that Mara is dead. He has been teleported way into the future. He has gotten the power of the blue from defeating Dagon. Go back and read the rest of the Aquaman series. It's been really, really good. So again, not really tied other than the Darkseid's minions. You're kind of seeing that the parademons are moving further and further into Earth, and that this is kind of one of those tie-ins where they're just dealing with all of that, right? So
Yeah,
then we go, Mantis, to the KO number 1.
yeah. In the very first actual issue of the KO event, opens up with this game night theme, which is echoed throughout all of the KO event, because it ends up being a game. You could think of it as, they're doing like RPG type stuff, Dungeons and Dragons type thing. Although to me, it kind of looks like a game of life like setup for something, That's the way.
It is.
Yeah, I mean it is, yeah. And yeah, it plays into this storyline throughout the whole story, or the whole KO event. And we have each of the players that are in the game, the major players, I should say, the Bruce, Diana, Cal, and Lois. Yes, all kind of hanging out, chilling effectively. But they're, after talking with the Quantum Quorum through after this game night reveal thing, they realize what they have to do. They have to fight in this tournament to become the King Omega, and they end up spending 7 days trying to get Earth ready, and then the first stage of the tournament begins. Although I do want to preface one thing I forgot to mention: at the game night, they get a kind of vision of, or the reader, I guess us, gets a vision of what's going to happen if these things come to pass. And you get this montage of a massive Darkseid just destroying everything everywhere on Earth, on Oa, on I don't know if that shows the Mascara, I can't remember.
It shows the Mascara. Yep. And
Yeah,
then the Rock of Eternity.
yeah, I mean it's like he's everywhere all the time type of thing. So they're trying to, they got to fight to become King Omega to stop Darkseid, essentially. So that's when the tournament begins.
Yes. Probably one of my favorite issues in the whole KO event is DC KO number 1. One of my favorites. I mean, it's I don't know if it's my favorite, but it is a very, very, very good issue. Go check out Mantis's video on that. So we then go to number 5, which is a tie-in. It's a Titans 28. And again, after everything we kind of see happening in the tournament, because remember in KO1, we see the first stage of the tournament where what they have to kind of first do, and they're fighting the gigantic old gods and things like that. Well, Titans kind of goes where we kind of see the other side of things, right? Where they're trying to evacuate Earth, and they're realizing that, like, okay, not only do we have to evacuate Earth and save all the people, but what are we going to do with some of these villains, kind of like Terra, right? The Titans, that she betrayed the Titans for Deathstroke, but then Deathstroke ended up almost killing her, so now the Titans have her again, and they have her kind of in this tank, healing kind of a tank slash prison, I guess you want to say. And they're like, what are we going to do with Terra? And of course, then the other Titans are splitting off. Like Starfire goes out there, and as she's trying to help with the evacuation, she runs into Granny Goodness. And we kind of get this, okay, now we know the Parademon's been here. Now Darkseid's minions are really kind of closing in on Earth, right? So then we kind of switch to number 6 where we go to Superman 31, where they're on the watchtower. We're back to kind of like, oh hey, we're gonna enter this tournament, and they've got to go, like they're doing this evacuation on Earth, but they got to go out and fight and battle against their friends, right? And Lois kind of gets her own mission. She's over in the fortress after Cal leaves, and she's talking to Jor-El at first, but then because she's there, it triggers Laura, Superman's mom, kind of talking about what they had discovered, her that Laura had discovered when Mantis was mentioned the Omega Act, what they had taught, what they had learned about Time Trapper Doomsday. So it's kind of interesting that now she gets that information, and there's some very, very important information. However, the Dark Legion comes in, and she gets hit with a blast of energy and gets her superpowers back and becomes Superwoman once again.
Yeah, and if I remember right, in that Omega Act, the reason Laura had found that information, like no one, I say no one knew it, but it was like forbidden knowledge, right? Like
Yes, they were not allowed to go into
Kryptonians,
the ruins.
yeah, Kryptonians were not allowed to go look at any of that information, which is probably why it was not visible or wasn't, it was locked in the code or whatever in the video that she couldn't see. Okay, and so then it kind of goes into Flash 26, where we get multiple generations of Flash going with Bart, Ira, Wally, and then you also have Max Mercury or Quicksilver. He's in it too. So you got all these Flashes in there, and something happens, and Bart decides he has to go save. I forget who he's going to save, but he takes off through the time stream to save. I think to save Wally or Barry, and so he takes off through the time stream, and that's when Wally takes off after him through the time stream, and they kind of get in there, and things are kind of off. The time stream's a little bit weakened, and they notice Bart notices something's kind of off there, and they end up way back in the early 1900s, where they do meet up with the Dark Legion that we mentioned back in the previous issue of Superman 31. And if I remember right, also the 1900s they mentioned was right when they had dropped or was when the comet hit up in Russia at the exact same time. So just a interesting time period that the writers decided to drop off this kind of in the past again. And as you'll see through this whole thing, at least in the Flash tie-in, it's going to be jumping all over the place throughout time. So hopefully you guys are ready for that.
Which, it's Flash. You guys should be expecting some time jumping, right? Because somebody's always going to do something stupid when it comes to time, right?
Absolutely.
It's just what happens. But then when we go to the 8th issue in the KO event, which is Justice League Unlimited 12, we kind of we get to see the whole world again is trying to be evacuated. We got our separate teams off doing their own jobs, but Mr. Terrific has kind of come up with his own theory, or I guess plan, because what they learn is as they're on Earth, they're trying to evacuate, is all of the super villains or just even regular villains seem to kind of have more powers than they normally do. And it they kind of put two and two together that Neron, who at this time is the Lord of Hell, has been kind of supercharging the villains and kind of putting them out there, which is hindering their efforts to evacuate Earth. So Mr. Terrific puts together some of the displaced heroes, because if you remember from way back before we start the KO event, we had heroes pouring in from every time and universe, and we had multiples of every type of hero kind of popping up. So he puts together this displaced Aquaman, Power Girl, a Guy Gardner. We got Superman Blue, we got Gold Hawk, we got Batman Beyond, the Tim Drake edition, and we got Alan Scott. Okay, the OG Green Lantern. We got our future female Dr. Fate from way out in like the fucking 831st century. And we got fucking Owl Woman. And they start their descent into hell.
Yep. Right after that, we kind of get to see what happens in DCKO Night Fight, and there's four of these. And as Cal was saying, with the villains released from the Phantom Zone, some of those got into the tournament. They popped up in the KO tournament at the end there of the first round of the KO tournament, and Joker ends up killing Bruce right at the end of that issue. Um, and so after that, I was kind of upset, to be honest with you. As a Batman fan, I was a little upset. So seeing Night Fight 1, we get to see, well, he didn't really die. He had some apocalyptic tech integrated into his bat suit because they were allowed to bring weapons and stuff into the tournament.
One each.
Yeah. And so he brought that. He ends up in this alternate Gotham, essentially, with a bunch of Robins everywhere. And he was like, I thought I'd wake up in my normal Gotham, but see, the Heart kind of knew he cheated, and the Heart doesn't like cheaters. So he's gonna start to put him through a series of tests and has to fight different versions of, right now, Robins. So all throughout this issue, he goes and he's fighting all these different versions of Robins that have been successful and whatnot. So, and a couple that have died, and they blame him because he disappeared, or the Bruce from their world disappeared. So,
And I think it's kind of interesting. Just a quick note on that for everybody who's watching that, remembers, or if you haven't read it yet, kind of a note for you here is that the Heart literally isn't like making these fairy tale worlds. It is generating universes. So this is a new universe that is focused around what it's putting Batman through. And it continues to generate universes. It generates worlds for them to fight on. The Heart's doing all of this, right? So we're talking, I mean, cosmic level powers here, all this. But we're going to switch from that and we're going to go to more Earth-based powers because we're going to go back to the 10th episode or issue in the KO event is Titans 29, where it's mainly spent on Gem World with Raven and Nightwing. Now, this was a peaceful world that said, hey, yes, we will take on some of the Earth refugees, and we're talking millions of people here. And they show up, and it's a warm reception until Jinx shows up, and she kind of starts to take over. And she obviously is very powerful because she is a magic based villain. And on Gem World, being gems hold a lot of magical power. But Raven's kind of got a trick up her sleeve, all right? Tara is going to come back into the picture because we see her and she goes down and she lets her out and kind of ends there. But we know that she's getting ready to get some earthly, well, groundly, elementally help. Okay. The bitch can control or ground.
yeah. Earth, essentially. Yeah.
We can't call it Earth. Okay. And I say that in the video. I'm like, you can't call it Earth because if you're on a different planet that's not Earth, it's no longer Earth. Like, whatever you call the ground, Gem World.
Yeah.
But that's besides the point because Mantis has got KO number 2. You got all the good ones.
I mean, the KO ones are the main one, and there's a lot of, I'm sure you love the double pages through this. But yeah, it starts back off through the game night again. And we're in round 2, and this is where things kind of shift because the Heart has brought in these relics, some of the most powerful items throughout the universe, throughout each one of the, maybe pertaining to some of the characters, maybe not. And throughout, they're all fighting and trying to gain control of these items because, as the Heart says, at the end, there's only 16 of these items left. So if you don't hold one of these items, after the last one is claimed, everyone else that doesn't have one loses, meaning you're out, you're dead, you cease to exist in that sense.
You're fucking out.
You're fucking out.
Yeah, you are out. So there's some shenanigans that go on.
Evil shenanigans.
Lex makes a pretty good move by using one of the power rings to raise up the dead old Titans that are on this wasteland that the Heart created, which is kind of cool. Superman almost ends up dying there, but he ends up surviving, getting the mystery item, the Omega Sanction, which is very interesting, which we will talk about. So
that is, I love that because, yeah, when you see what he gets to do with it, it's not a super big secret what he does with the Omega Sanction, but we're gonna hold off on it. All right,
Yeah.
he's got it there, and we're gonna go to the 12th issue in the event, which is Superman number 32. Lois having got her superpowers back, the it becomes this now. She is there with the Superman, one of the Superman robots, and Superboy Prime, and they realize that there's very important information she's now gotten from Laura that they need to get to Doomsday, aka Time Trapper. And again, this is where we find out really how the villains got into the tournament, because we initially had thought like we're like, oh, like it's going to be all of our heroes having to fight, and like, well, nope, now there's villains, which I like it. I think that kind of added a kind of a cool aspect instead of having to see like the heroes fight each other. We got that, but also then we're like, oh, they had to team up with some of their enemies, right? I like
Mhm.
that. Maybe it's just me. Let me know down in the comments how you felt about it. But I thought it was pretty cool. But then we're gonna flash back to issue number 27.
Yeah, 27. Remember, we're back in the 1908 here, and we catch up with Bart, who is being pursued by the Dark Legion. He's just running. Also, Cosmic Boy, Lightning Lad, and Saturn Girl, who you'll see kind of again repeated throughout history here. He's kind of Darkseid's little bitch crew or whatever.
I like
And
it.
yeah, and we even meet XS as well. But again, still trying to find Barry through this issue. So
Barry. uh, And then we go to Justice League Unlimited 13. And this issue kind of mostly takes place in hell, where the terrific 10, all right, our 10 heroes, they're going to find Neron and stop him from supercharging Earth's villains and kind of preventing or delaying the evacuation, because we have a limited amount of time, right? Because what we didn't kind of reiterate about the 7 days,
Quantum.
what's going on is the quantum quorum is slowing time to stop what's happening. And we got these 7 days, and then Earth is kind of, gone. Right.
Toast.
And here we lose one of our 10, right? We lose Alan Scott, our OG Green Lantern, and he is taken out by his weakness, wood. For those who
Yep.
don't remember, in the original Green Lantern was Alan Scott, and that was his weakness, was wood. Whereas now the Green Lantern's weakness is more of the yellow color of fear. So
Yeah. And after that, we kind of check in on Bruce again in his alternate Night Fight
I
2,
like
and
the Night Fight series.
it's kind of interesting. It gets kind of weird in this one. Batman's supposed to face his family for most of it. Dick Grayson is Batman, and the Heart puts a stop to what Batman is trying to do, and he's essentially saying he's not going to fight his family. Like, I'm not going to do it, which is a reoccurring theme throughout all of these Night Fights. But bouncing him from reality to reality, from Dick to Jason Todd, and although the Jason Todd one, which is where this issue ends, is kind of interesting because Jason thinks he's Clayface, to which Bruce is like, you know what? Screw it. I am Clayface. I can use this stuff too. And he turns into Clayface and starts beating the shit out of him with it.
I love
So
how he leans into that. He's a yeah, I'm
yeah,
my face.
yeah,
Let's go for it. So I
yeah,
think it's kind of interesting because we know we've talked about with the comics that with everything happening in the DCU, that Gunn wanted to kind of incorporate everything into it, right? And we know there's going to be the Clayface movie coming out later on this year. So I think it's kind of funny that they threw that little bit in there. Could be reaching, don't know. But when we go to the next one, now this is the first of the finally we got when we did the bracket video, we had the heroes against, eventually they'd have to fight each other, right? Heroes against heroes. Well, we start off with two of my absolute fucking favorites, Soups versus Captain Atom, right? And here's where we finally learn how the battles are going to work, right? And they're very Mortal Kombat stylish, of where we've got, 2 to 3 rounds, depending if it has to go to a third round. Whoever wins 2 of the 3 wins it all. Now, the Heart puts them in their location, but when one dies, they get to then choose their next form and where they're going to go, right? And this is any form that has ever existed in any universe, right? So I think it's kind of interesting that, first round, they kind of go at each other again. They're in their normal forms, and Adam kind of he fucks Superman up, right? But then we see like some of their ultimate forms, and what happens is we realize that after they defeat one another, when the first one's defeated, that the other one is kind of got this surge of omega energy, right? And it's like the dark side, right? And they feel super powerful, and they crave it more and they want it, but it doesn't work out so well for Captain Adam because Superman literally fucks him up the next two rounds. He kind of wins. And then at the end of that is so weird because I love the issue, but then we find out that Booster Gold isn't Booster Gold, right? He is Darkseid and he has taken over Booster. So a lot happened in that issue, but it was so good.
That was a good issue. Very good issue.
And then we leave that awesome issue and we go to Aquaman number 12, right? And this is Aquaman versus Hawkman. Now, there's not a lot to go over in this because we know from previous Aquaman issues that he has defeated Dagon. He has the power of the blue. He makes quick work of Hawkman. It's, I think, one of the only ones that actually only go 2 rounds. He fucks Hawkman up quick. Awesome issue, but it's very, very quick. I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on it because we have a lot more to cover. Because then we go into the Wonder Woman versus Lobo. Now, I was super, super pumped for this one, but it kind of ends up being a letdown, right? Because we got the main man here, and in the very first fight, he just annihilates Diana. But then in like the second fight, she gets help from her Amazonian sisters, which is cheating.
I agree.
And then we even get, once we get to the third round, we see a figure who looks like and is presumed to be the Presence, because Lobo makes a comment about how he has this deal where he can't die, and the deal is torn up, and then he's killed by Diana in the third round, so she wins. But like, amazing, we see the Presence because he got the bowler cap, and one of the few times we've ever actually seen the Presence show up in a humanish form. That's what he looks like, because other times we've only seen him as a hand. And I'm like, It took that to kill the main man. Like, fuck, like he shouldn't have died. We love the main man, but it happened. And then
I was disappointed too.
It was bullshit. But then we go to Titans 30 with Cyborg and Swamp Thing, Mantis.
Yeah, this was the Cyborg versus Swamp Thing, the Green. We get to see some different versions of all of them. Actually, I know, like, because at the most of these fights, you get to choose a version of the character, of any version of you that you could be. Right? These switch off. Some people stay the same, some switch off. I think one of them stayed the same throughout this. I think it actually might have been Cyborg after each round. But in any event, there's, Cyborg's got some cool little toys with Mother Box and whatnot. But ultimately, 3 rounds, Cyborg pretty much beats Swamp Thing. We get to see some of the other Titans on Earth, and that's what kind of fuels him to win and all this nonsense. It's whatever, with some more evacuations as well from like the Titans tie-ins. And we do get the very end to see Darkseid's daughter, Grail, which was another interesting thing. She doesn't show up in the main KO event, but she does kind of pop up in these tie-ins, so it's kind of funny.
Yes, she's kind of actually an important part throughout these tie-ins. And then we kind of do another switch to where we do in the 20th issue of the KO event, where it's DC's Harley versus Zatanna. Right now, this one, I'm sorry, it's fan service to all the guys out there, right? Because it's the 2 hottest chicks in this event. They're not wearing a whole lot, and they don't even really want to fight each other, right? Like, they even talk about it throughout, that they know what they have to do. Because I mean, come on, what crazy chick would want to go up against one of, if not the most powerful magic user on Earth at this time? And of course, naturally, Zatanna wins, but it was still hot.
So hot, want to touch tiny. Yep. Next one, Flash versus Green Lantern. Jake Garrick versus Guy Gardner here, and this one starts out kind of silly with them wanting like to play checkers, which, Guy's like, this is the dumbest thing. I'm just gonna beat your ass. But we
I can't help but think of the bad Santa. You cheating little shit. He's throwing checkers. You play like your lights falling off you. Next thing you know, you're fucking Seabiscuit all over the board.
You're fucking with me. You did that on purpose. You sit there and you play like the fucking dead lice are falling off of you, and then suddenly you're like fucking Seabiscuit all over the goddamn place. You're a smart ass, is what you are, kid.
Sorry. That's all I thought.
Yeah, because they were trying to bend the rules. They didn't want to fight, and Guy Gardner eventually was just like, "I'm done with this." And yeah, they end up fighting. And of course, ultimately, Jay is not going to be able to beat a construct with Guy Gardner. So yeah, Jay ends up losing that fight.
Death by missile.
Yeah.
Then we switch over to the 22nd of this was Superman 33. Now, this is very weird because this is Lex versus the demon Etrigan. Okay, so we have a Superman issue where we get very, very little Superman. Okay, so in this, though, the demon kind of takes an early lead. He beats Lex in the first round, but then Lex kills him with a boom tube. And then he actually tricks the demon into Lex says the riddle that he becomes the demon himself and kills Etrigan. Like, very, very weird. Not a whole lot happens in it. Definitely filler. Weird for Superman. I'm sorry, it was.
Yeah. And we move on to a very dark issue with the Red Hood versus the Joker, and two characters that are crazy, like eerily similar in the same sense of where their mental state and their they don't mind killing people left and right type of thing. So that fight was cool. Eventually ends with, it looks like Jason's gonna win this fight because he ends up stabbing Joker and then climbs out of this grave. But both of them are kind of teetering on death, where Jason ends up dying slightly before the Joker, and the Joker ends up surviving that round and moves on.
Now, I will say the one thing that comes from this is we see Booster side, right? We see Darkseid Booster. He kind of makes his play to kill Time Trapper at this point. This is finally, he's done it. He's going to go kill him. But then we go and we check in on our terrific 10, or should I say 7, because we've lost a couple people, right? They're in the next layer of hell going down there. And here it is it Karen? Is that how you say it? Okay, so Karen, the fairy person, man, I don't know what its gender is, of hell, like, doesn't want these coins that Terrific has. They make him give up something. So it makes Superman Blue give up his hope, right? And that's a pretty big thing for Superman. So they get their passage, but then they get attacked by this water demon and we lose Aquaman, right? Very quickly, as sudden, it's a whole thing when they're in hell. Everybody just dies suddenly. And we kind of realize that something is affecting the Watchtower's ability to power all of the evacuation devices, whether it be boom tubes, teleporters, even the ships, to help with the evacuation. Something is draining the Watchtower's power. We don't know what it is quite yet, right? Because then we immediately are going to go over into the 25th issue, which is Night Fight 3, Mantis.
Yeah, and this picks up where we kind of left the last one off, where Jason was kind of falling off the roof, and Clayface / Bruce does go down and kind of saves him. And right as kind of things are maybe starting to turn there, he gets pulled into another universe by the Heart. Again, the Heart is not going to let Bruce win the way he wants here. And he gets pulled into a time to play detective, But the Heart's getting a little upset with Bruce. He's supposed to be fighting these people, not helping them. And which leads to, the Heart doing something different at the end of this. He wakes up at the end in a perfect Gotham, in a time where he's like, well, I'll make you, love this place so much you won't want to leave. And that is including with his son Damian having a kid, as well as him now having that being his grandson Alfred. So we'll see if, at the end of that, I was like, I don't know if Bruce is going to be able to give this up. It's something, there's no crime, there's nothing, he could just live his life. And it's like the Matrix, right? Like, would you take that? I should have taken that damn blue pill.
Why didn't I take the blue pill? Right?
Yeah.
This is like that scene in the Matrix. Now, you could take the fucking red pill, right? Spend the rest of your life jacking off, crying into your chai tea, green latte, what the fuck. Or you could take the blue pill. Or was it the red pill? Anyway, take the other pill and quit being a cunt.
Which pill do you want me to take?
Just quit being a cunt, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, and then, you know, right after that, we kind of go right into DCKO number 3, and this one is like a tag team event. You know, contestants, they have to team up and face each other at the end, which only 4 of them is going to remain. And after some weird fighting on different platforms, they can kind of see each other. We end up with Joker, Lex, Wonder Woman, and Superman. And we do get to kind of see what may end up be bringing into the very next round is some of the absolute versions of the Trinity, as well as Booster Gold, aka Darkseid.
Now, if you remember, I believe it was in KO number 1. When they kind of had the whole team, whoever made it into the race, everything, we had the team of who was going to. We kind of saw and we saw Absolute Batman's axe, and we saw the gauntlets, which is, you know, Superman's suit, and the Absolute Universe Soul was powering up the gauntlets, and it would have looked like Wonder Woman because we knew they were the first 3 of the Absolute Universe, and now we get that real, like, we see them, right? So thought that was awesome. And we kind of leave that note in the KO event, and we slow things down a whole bunch because when we go to Aquaman 13, we kind of get this backstory of Mara when she was a kid and finding out all about Zebel and what happened with that. And, you know, back in what's going on in the regular, you know, world outside of Zebel here, we have this girl who they believed was their daughter, and she's kind of trying to take over with Aquaman being gone into the tournament. And not only is she trying to take over, and she's there at the council, and she's telling them, hey, just, you know, you need to side with me. But we realize we kind of get a quick flash into the tournament that she has actually absorbed the power of the blue from Aquaman now. And now he's more vulnerable because he's lost that godlike status in the tournament. Right. And then we kind of go from there back to Titans 31, where we're going to kind of spend an equal amount of time on Earth with Donna and Roy fighting Grail, and Gem World, where Jinx is kind of taking everybody hostage. But if you remember at the end of the last one, Raven had released Terra, and she just smashes Jinx. Boom. You know, big Gem hand crushes her, only to take the throne herself. Which then leads us to the 29th issue of this event, which, Mantis, that is your Galactic Slam.
Yeah, this was a Kyle Rayner and eventually being Super Bandman teaming up in a galactic WWE. Yeah, it's a great issue. I love it. If you like wrestling like I do, like, well, I haven't watched it in years, but I used to watch it growing up. But it's a great kind of side story, but it literally has nothing to do with whatever else happens in the KO event. So not really pertinent to what we're talking about here.
Well, we are going to kind of switch back to what is pertinent here, because when we go to Superman 34 as the 30th issue in this event, you know, we're going to spend a lot of time with Superwoman, Lois, the Superman robot that now has this downloaded information about what is going on with Darkseid or Doomsday. And like, we got to get this to Superman in the tournament, right? But we actually do get to see the final 4. They show up because they're going to have to do some of this battle is actually on Earth, which is slowly, well, I say slowly, it's pretty freaking quick, becoming Apocalypse now that the Quantum Quorum is no longer slowing down time. It's happening pretty rapidly, right? And we got Prime and the Superman robot. They even stop and try to help some people out, which turn out to be villains, but they're just trapped like everybody else, right? And of course, the Dark Legion shows up, right? They're going to stop this, but Prime isn't fucking around anymore.
Yeah, and then, you know, kind of takes us the Legion kind of shows up in a couple different places here with Flash 29. What happened in the previous one, you know, Wally and Bart thought that they could just kind of go kill Darkseid at the point where he was kind of vulnerable. They almost get him, but he ends up hitting Bart pretty good, and they kind of race off through the time stream again, and back to the point where the Legion's going to try and kill Barry, right? When he gets struck by lightning, and it hopefully just kill all the Flashes there, right? Because if he doesn't get his power, maybe that none of them get their powers, type of thing. So when they arrive back to the point where the event happens, where Barry gets his Flash powers and the Speed Force, Bart is kind of he's out of it, right? So Wally takes off to Barry's kind of lab where he finds him, and he's trying to like, don't freak out, I'm trying to help you out here. There's some bad stuff about to happen, and that's when the Legion shows up, and they start to try and kill both of them. Meanwhile, Bart's like, I've got to make my way there, and on his way there, he starts to feel even worse and worse because as this has been going, the Speed Force has slowly been degrading, right? Eventually, what happens is Bart finds out that he is part of the Speed Force. He is the Speed Force. And when he finds that out, they end up defeating the Legion there, and they take off to try and save Barry in the future at Flashpoint. So that's where he takes off to, and that's kind of where that issue ends.
I like that though, that they bring on when I was going through your video on that, when they brought in Flash. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then we're going to go for a little bit of a letdown because we're going to go to Justice League Unlimited 15, where they're still in hell, they're battling through, and again, we're just kind of like, it's just like, how many people are going to sacrifice themselves? Because within this issue, like within a couple of pages, we lose Goldhawk. Literally the next page over, we lose Batman Beyond, and then as we get down to the meat of the issue at the very end, we lose Dr. Fate because we learned that bitch owl woman was in league with Neron. Right?
The whole time.
Right? We said from the beginning, if you watched our first issues or episodes where we were talking about her, we're like, can't trust
why
her.
is she
Why here?
Why is she here? Yeah.
Well, she apparently was there to deceive everybody. But we are going to switch that. We're going to go up to another one of the kind of, random by itself issues, which is DCKO, The Kids Are All Fight, right? And the name pretty much says it all, because where you have the Superman filling in, which is basically John Kidd's Superboy, right? Not Superboy Prime, just regular Superboy. They're up on the lunar base there with some of the other Titans like Donna and them. And of course, the kids, we have the kids. We have a couple of the Mr. Terrific wannabes and son. And we have Cheshire's kid. Like we've got several of the kids. We got a young little tiny Flash and all that. Well, they decide they want to go and they want to help out. So they go down to the actual Earth's surface. They kind of get in over their head. It turns out we got to get Superboy-ish man. I'm not ready to call him Superman yet. And he's got to get Batgirl in there. They go and they save the kids and they stop what's been going on. So now they've stopped Granny. They stopped Granny Goodness. So it wasn't all for nothing, but it was a pretty good issue, I will say. And we get a little bit of kind of a flash of what's going on in that, how it ties into the KO event. We get Static back finally. So all in all, not too bad an issue.
Yeah. And the next one, Boss Battle, which was kind of a crossover event, not really a tie-in. It was a crossover event into other areas, other comic book companies, other rights that WB has. I thought was very interesting, and this one kind of makes sense. It will at the very end of the KO event of what this actually caused and what happened in other areas of the universes. Anyway, the World Forger kind of realizes that the absolute versions of the Wonder Woman, Batman, and Superman are going to beat the shit out of the normal versions of them, and he's like, you guys can't fight him yet. So what he does is he opens these fissures into other multiverses and resurrects 4 other combatants that had already previously died in the tournament to pair up with them and team up to go into these fissures and generate Omega energy that the World Forger can use to channel into them to make them stronger. Wow, that's a mouthful. Anyway, they go into the fissures and they do fight. I mean, there's some cool crossovers here. Superman going with fighting Homelander. Red Sonja's in there from Conan, or is it? Yeah, it's Conan. And then Lex Luthor is in there fighting some killer bear from, which I thought was kind of funny, but apparently that comic's really messed up. So yeah, Samantha Strong. It's just some cool little crossovers. Annabelle's in there, Joker, which I wish they would have done something cooler with Annabelle, because
I do too.
I love the that whole WB universe there. The Conjuring universe is good. Anyway, yeah. Either way, they do it. They come back. They get juiced up, and that kind of sets up what's going to be the fight there with the against the Absolute 3 Trinity and Booster Gold, aka Darkseid, and then the juiced up remaining 4 combatants of the KO tournament.
Which leads into the 35th, which is Night Fight 4. Mantis, I'm sorry, you again.
Yeah, so this is the very last issue. And again, Bruce is trying to battle with his, does he want to stay in this world where he's wanted and everyone loves him and he has everything he wants, and he knows he can't do that, and so does his son. So they get into a fight, and at the very end, he's like, I give up, I can't do it. And that's exactly what the Heart wanted to hear him say, is he wanted him to quit. The Heart pulls him out and says the only thing left to do is a leap of faith. And you see him, he's standing in these right above the Heart, in the fire pits coming out of the Heart, and he makes a leap right into it. And we assume that that's going to bring him back into the KO tournament, but we'll find out.
Well, the funny thing about that is, you again leads into KO number 4. That was a really good issue.
Yeah, oh, gosh, yeah. This is where the Absolute Trinity shows up, and we do kind of get to see a little step back here, because as the Joker's kind of doing his jokery thing, he gets kind of a bait, or I won't say a death echo, is kind of because Batman shows up, because jumping into the fire pits did work. He shows up, ends up killing the Joker kind of in the exact same way that he died. So I thought that was cool. And yeah, there's the fight between Absolute Superman and Superman was wild. These punches ending up with these 52 megaton bomb like going off, sending them flying. And there's this scene where he like crawls out of Booster Gold like a freaking parasite. He's like, he's been a puppet this whole time. We understand that, but now he's actually there and he's in it with all of them. And after this fight kind of kicks off, Diana's fighting her real sister. She's trying to talk to her and get her to kind of come over to the light side, we'll call it, on the Absolute side. And eventually they do kind of bring them on their side, at which point Darkseid's none too happy with that and just uses his Omega beams and nukes them all, essentially. And at the end of all of this, Lex is the one that ends up winning the King Omega crown. So, well, he hadn't put it on yet, but he wins the title as the Heart calls it into the tournament. Essentially, we do get some flashbacks here at the end of this too, where we find out that Saturn Girl has been kind of this telepathic liaison for Darkseid, and her going and getting the Dark Legion, or not the Dark Legion, the Absolute versions of the we'll just call them the Absolute Trinity. That's what I've been saying the whole time. She's been getting the Absolute Trinity over there, right? And while she's doing this, he kind of rewards her. It's not really a reward, but he shows her what his plan is, and it terrifies her to no end.
Yes. Amazing issue, but we can't leave you on a high, so we got to bring you down a little bit, right? So we're going to go to Aquaman 14, the 37th issue in this event. Definitely not as exciting as what's been happening with the last 3 that Mantis just had to go through. Probably 3 of some of the best ones in this whole series. Mantis he had to do literally back to back to back. Aquaman 14, we we finally find out who the girl that was Aquaman's daughter, or what they thought was Aquaman's daughter, because if you remember, he gets teleported and supposedly gets teleported in the future. No, it's Lolana. It is Mara's mother, who was the statue there in Zebel. She had been freed, but because it's her mother, that's why she looks so much like Mara, and they're like, oh, that's got to be their daughter. Well, no, it was her mom. She's just kind of been frozen in time there. She plotting to take over. She ends up killing Arthur in that at the very end, but then we kind of see him what looks like he came back as a young boy, right? He kind of washes up on shore. So then we switch over to Titans 32, where we've got Nightwing and Raven. And remember, Tara's got him kind of held hostage. She's wanting to take over. And you can tell throughout the whole issue, she's really like hurting, right? Like she knows she did wrong and she feels bad about it, but then she's kind of trying to play the victim / give an excuse for why she did what she did. And they kind of convince her you could be the hero of Gemworld. People don't know you. So she frees everybody, and that's exactly what she kind of does. She becomes the hero of Gemworld. Oh my God, everybody's all so happy, blah, 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 with the Titans. All right. And then we move on to the 39th. We are getting right there. We have Flash 30, Mantis.
Yeah, this one again kind of ties up the multiple Flash tie-in type thing where Barry and Wally do end up. This issue starts out they're right there at Flashpoint. The anti-monitor is about to fire the cannon off here, and Bart is so convinced that he can save Barry, and we find out through this issue that's exactly what Darkseid wants to have happen. If Barry doesn't make that sacrifice, it changes everything. If Bart is the one who kills himself and sacrifices himself, he's the Speed Force, which will kill the Speed Force in I think he calls it the Omega Force, will take over the Speed Force. And he's so close to doing it, but Wally kind of stops him, along with some help from Jay Garrick too, who kind of shows up to like, you are the Speed Force. You can't make the sacrifice. You need to let him do this, which he does. And they kind of leave there. Barry makes a sacrifice, stops it. But then they race off back to the KO tournament, supposedly.
And this is kind of where we're going to wrap up all these storylines, right? Because then when we go to the 40th episode or issue, we have Justice League Unlimited 16, right? Now, of course, Owlwoman, having realized that she had sided with Neron because she was kind of pissed off that Mr. Terrific basically acted like their lives were, worthless, which they kind of are. I mean, they're literally taken from 1 second. Even if they died, it wouldn't affect their timelines because they are just like snipped from 1 frame of that timeline. But she has a change of heart, of course. We get Mr. Terrific kind of reunited with the team on the surface, and we didn't solve anything, right? The whole reason for going to hell, they never even really encounter Neron. I mean, there was a brief little kind of dialogue exchange, but there's no fight with Neron. We didn't stop him. Like, all useless, right? But luckily, in the second to last of this, we go to Superman 35. We got good old Superboy Prime. He's kind of like almost reverting back to his old self, or how he killed all those people. Like, he's fucking up the Dark Legion, right? And he's ready to kill Saturn Girl's dude there. And of course, now she wants to, I have seen the error of my ways. Don't kill my boyfriend. Like that's wrong. You shouldn't kill him, even though she's killed a bunch of people, bitch. But Lois is they're able to turn her away from Darkseid. They're able to get the message to Time Trapper, aka Doomsday, and he kind of realizes that he's the alpha, and this has kind of been played throughout the whole event, but he's the alpha to Darkseid being the Omega, right? Is that he isn't meant to kill Superman, he's meant to bring him back, right? Because you remember at the end of KO4 there, like Superman kind of protects Lex unintentionally, and he lives. And then Lex kills Superman where he's crowned the king, right? Well, Darkseid or Doomsday can bring him back. And that's exactly what happens as we go to the last, the DCKO5. Good.
Yeah. This one starts off again with seemingly a game night, although it's a little different this time. You know, everyone goes out like they're going to fight Darkseid, like they did the first time with the city dying and everything, big Darkseid. And that's when kind of Time Trapper steps in with Clark, and he notices it's different. He tells him to show himself, and this is when Time Trapper Doomsday explains to Clark he'd had a pocket universe to protect him, and to kind of get out of this rebirth cycle that keeps happening. Doomsday says, I'm going to give up my alpha energy to you so that you can become the true King Omega, and blah, blah, blah. So that's what he does. Gives him all. There's this cool like panel where he puts all this alpha energy into him. And as he does that, you know, we kind of shift back and we see Lex, and he's in the middle of a sentence, and he basically disintegrates and he becomes Superman as God tier King Omega Superman, and you know, he dons the crown, and this is when the real fight kicks off, because you have this literally God Superman. I mean, there's people talking like, is this the most powerful version of Superman? I mean, he has to be, right? Like, it has to be.
If you're reading it, like, it's difficult to say that like Superman 1,000,000, who's supposed to be one of the most powerful Superman, I say one of the most powerful Superman, you know, having been in the sun for all those years, has almost God tier powers. He has God tier because they're saying like they're punching, like as he's punching Darkseid, universes are being born, right?
Yeah, they're hitting so hard, they're creating, like, they're knocking the light out of black holes. Like, it's insane. And they fight. This is the thing, they fight through time. You know, they're fighting back and forth. They fight all the way back through time, because that's where the heart tells Clark that it's the only safe place. Everything in the future is all Darkseid. So they keep fighting through time. They eventually end up at the beginning of time, where Superman absorbs the Big Bang, and he's, you know, he knocks Darkseid pretty good, and he has a chance to win, to kill Darkseid and make, you know, end this whole thing. And right as he's about to, he takes the heart and crushes it. And when he does that, he releases all of the people that were in the tournament that had died, including the baddies. Remember that. But also at the same time, they come out, they all hit Darkseid at once, causing him to disappear, essentially, disintegrate, whatever you want to call it. And when that happens, some of that energy, that alpha energy, gets into those people that were in the tournament, which will kind of spark into the new universe, the new DC section. I don't know what you want to call it. I don't want to call it an event. Like, we'll call it after KO. After KO, right?
Yes, but you know how that issue ends, right? The final page.
Yeah, we see that, you know, Darkseid is not dead. In fact, he is in his absolute universe, which I was happy to see, because, as I'm sure you do too, like, we love the absolute universe comics, so they're obviously going to keep on with that. He's been hiding in there, but also we find out back in that boss battle, when they were generating this Omega energy, so was everyone else in all the other multiverses. This is where it gets real trippy. And, you know, as these other universes are doing all this, it empowers all of these other his armies, I guess, as you want to call them, throughout. So he's not dead. He's still there. His absolute versions of his heroes, or as we call them, are still there. We don't know how this technically affected them, like, because they did kind of get away from the Omega energy and Darkseid's influence with Saturn Girl. So I don't know how that's going to play out. We'll find out hopefully in the absolute line. But we do get a couple of epilogue stuff here about, you know, what current heroes storylines could have changed. We see something there with Barry Allen. We see a couple of things with Damian and Alfred. Is that still a universe, still a thing? So there's all kind of cool stuff. But with those other universes that have crowned themselves King Omegas, all these are fueling Darkseid's energy of anti-life, and we find out that there's going to be most likely an absolute crisis event.
which will more than likely be an absolute crisis on Infinite Earths. Because again, as he had mentioned in the Flash, they show they do Flashpoint, but they also show like they're going back to the crisis on Infinite Earths, right?
Yeah,
All that going on with the antimatter cannon, all that good stuff like that.
on
So,
purpose.
yes, on purpose. So more than likely it'll be an absolute crisis on Infinite Earths. Hopefully that'll at least be for a while from now, because I don't know that I can handle another an event so soon, because it's been a lot, man. Sometimes we have 5, 7, 8 videos we got to get out. Plus we're trying to do regular what's going on in the DCU videos as well too. So it's been a whole lot for us. And like I said, we are paying to do this, right? So we do appreciate you being here with us. I know this one is substantially longer than anything we've been putting out lately. This is probably going to be close to, by the time I cut editing, an hour long. But again, it was 42 issues, and we probably could have spent another 2 or 3 hours, right? We skimmed through so quick to just kind of give you recaps of what happened. Some of them were kind of shit, but a lot of them were like KO5. I probably could talk about KO5 for another 30 minutes right now. Great issue. Definitely, if you have not seen them all, go check out all of them on the channel there. Like I said, Mantis put them into a playlist. You can literally start it. You don't even have to watch, just listen, right? Hopefully you get YouTube Premium, right? Nobody wants to see ads. Now we'll say that because we're such a small channel. If you watch our video right now, you won't have ads, because then YouTube can't monetize on us. So watch them all and not get ads, but you can set us down and just listen to us while you're doing other stuff. Yeah. So, and if you have made it with us over the course of this absolute wrap-up event, please consider giving the video a like, right? Subscribing to the channel, having the bell notifications clicked. Now, you won't be getting alerted to all the KO event stuff because it's already done, but all the new stuff that's going to happen. We are still covering the entire absolute universe now. We're up to the 6, right? That we're still covering, as well as we will continue coverage of the Justice League Unlimited universe like we had been, because that's what started this whole thing. We'll see how that goes, and we may spawn off. I know there's a new Lobo series that's getting ready to start. Excited for that one. We may start that. We don't know. Let us know down in the comments how you felt about the KO event. Are you excited for Lobo? We could do that one. And how you felt about the universe as well. All right, because like I said, I'm glad to see it's not going away yet. Mantis, you got anything else?
No. It was awesome. It was an awesome KO event. So
it wasn't awesome. Yeah, there's filler, but when you have 42 issues, you're always going to have that. It's kind of like when TV shows used to have 24 episodes a season. You have some filler, but it all worked, right? But I like they sprinkled in like the kids are all fighting the boss battle with all the different things in there. So I think they did a great job. But just let us know how you felt about it. And to keep this video under your average superhero movie length, that is going to do it for us on this episode of You, Me, and DC, guys. Until next time, we'll see you then.
Later.
Oh, man.